why don't we get dim lights in there or something? You know what I mean? Even dimmer than
Why?
that.
The question is, why isn't it okay the way it is?
There's 2 different lights.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is what the camera looks like. Not
Matters
what it
the
looks like in
content.
here.
Are we recording?
I think advice. David and we're talking about advice and where you or where we go to for advice. And at the end of the day, you want unbiased and constructive advice, not, just the person that's going to tell you what you want to hear. And I guess what is, comforting to you, right? You want somebody to give you advice that is going to only help you be better, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they look, for people that will just confirm what they're thinking, or if they're hurting. And I get, sympathy and giving somebody a shoulder to lean on. But I think a lot of times, they're looking for advice, and just by talking about it with somebody for an hour doesn't fix the problem. We're about fixing problems and finding solutions, not just putting a mask cover over it, I guess, And I see a lot of times that people just like to put masks over things. And, like in Big Daddy, remember he puts the newspaper over the piss, right? It's not going to go away.
He threw up all over the place because he drank a gallon of milk.
Yeah, and then it's like you put the newspaper over the piss, but that doesn't fix the problem. It's just a temporary remedy. Pretend it doesn't exist, but it's still there. And I think a lot of times when you're giving advice to somebody, there's a way to give it to where, yes, you can be sympathetic and nurturing, but you also have to be somewhat strong and maybe get out of your comfort level to give them genuine advice if you feel like something is wrong or right, and guide them in the right direction. I think that's what real friendship is about, and camaraderie. It's not just agreeing with somebody and making them feel better. I think you have to try to give them another point of view to make them better. And then it's the person's job that's getting this information to not get, emotional about it, or, get upset. If they're open for criticism, if they're willing to talk to you, they better be open for constructive criticism as well.
Do you ask? Because some people, I guess the question is, where do you go to for advice? And a lot of people may not go to their superior, their boss, another team member for advice, probably because they don't want to hear their honest opinion, or maybe they won't give it. But you have to be open to say, hey, I need help with this, and be honest with me. So it is that two-sided thing. The person you're asking the advice from has to be honest and constructive, and you have to be willing to accept their opinion and their honest advice that they're providing.
Yeah. I mean, people have friends and different kind of friends. One friend will just listen for hours and nurture. Your other friend will tell you how it is. And that's, I think, the kind of person I am. Like, people come up to me, at least when it comes to these scenarios, and they know they're going to get a cutthroat answer.
Right.
I'm sympathetic, but I'm direct.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're not coming to me for a shoulder to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
They might go to their mom or dad or grandma or their best friend for that. But I think if you are those people, you also not only just give them a shoulder to lean on, you have to step it up and make them better. I go into work every day to try to make things better, whether it's for the clients we take care of, the office here. If it's all about just, listening 24/7 and not taking action and actually executing, no one's really going to get better. It's just going to be just like an idle world of fluff.
Should employees ask their boss for advice, right? Like if there's no communication there, how the hell is the employee supposed to get better? And how is, the employer supposed to, help this person grow without talking to them?
Yeah.
Who initiates that, right?
I think before anybody, whether it's the employer even asking the employees for help,
Mm-hmm.
or vice versa, one has to be willing to take that answer and do something with it, or acknowledge that there's maybe a little problem or something you can improve on. If you're just asking for help because you think like that's the right thing to do, but you haven't actually thought behind it, like, yes, I have to get better here, let me ask, versus somebody's making a lot of mistakes and they're just asking because of these mistakes and not really thinking about why, like, what is the purpose of the ask, to pretend like I'm going to try to fix it, or permanently try to fix it internally and then ask. You have to know how to ask.
Mm-hmm. And I think, a lot of bosses or whatever, they don't usually ask for feedback from themselves, or it's usually like, hey, does anybody, want to share anything? Open table. But most people are hesitant to do that. So how do you go about getting that feedback even from your team? Because we're on both sides, getting feedback as an employee, getting feedback as a business owner who's managing a team. It's got to be both.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that I guess employees have to recognize is that their employers have 13 different personalities, or 15, 20, depending how many employees are in there, on how they have a conversation with a certain person. I guarantee you, if you're running a company of 10 or 20 employees, you do not have the same exact conversation with a tone with every employee in there. I think that's impossible. You have people that are, take it better direct. This is it, boom. You have people that you have to kind of beat around the bush a little bit on, and then go in, right? Nothing wrong with either one. So you, as an employee, also have to recognize that as well. The employer is balancing 15 different personalities at the same time while talking to people. So how do you ask? I think, one, you have to have an open door policy. Like, you can't, like, if the only way you could talk to your employer is by setting an appointment or this kind of stuff, it's just not healthy. I think you have to be willing to do better, and the employer has to have an open door ready to help. And what is the employer's job? They're like, my job, I feel like I'm working for my people. Mm-hmm. I want them to do better. They say employers don't have bosses. I do. My people.
Right.
I work for them. I work for them, and I really believe in that. Like, how am I going to work for them? What is different in their scenario where I have to shift my daily routine for them, right? Whether something is sick or they're gone for a while, there's a vacation. I am shifting daily, hourly, based on them. So I am working for them. So people that think that the employer only answers to nobody, they're out of their mind. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think today, right, if you're listening, watching, what have you, it's good to set up that meeting, ask your boss for constructive criticism, advice, whatever you want to call it, and tell them you're willing to, be open and shoot you straight.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're only going to feel better about having that conversation and not wondering, is my boss thinking that, I'm good, I'm not good, what's happening? It just builds insecurity when you're not communicating.
100%. And if somebody's not used to somebody being so direct, and direct doesn't mean angry, it just means this is it. Mm-hmm. Some people are just so used to fluff and beating around, and then when they're having a conversation with somebody that's direct, they think they're angry. They're not. They're valuing time, mm-hmm. and they want it to be better.
Right. It's like the shortcut to get to the store, right? You could either take the shortcut or you could take the long scenic route, right? We choose not to. We want to get right there.
So I think you as an employer have to recognize the kind of people you have in your establishment and know how to reach them and connect with them. And if ones are more into directness, continue. And if ones are not used to it, explain. Mm-hmm. This is why I'm doing it this way. Sure. It's not because anything's wrong. It's because we got saved time.
Right.
There was no need for the 7-minute backstory. And I might come off really wrong, but
no.
Like, you only have 24 hours in a day. You're here at work 8-9 hours. You're with your family for a couple of hours. How much time can you waste beating around the bushes? Mm-hmm. And at least that's how I think. My thought isn't to be rude or that ever, because I will move mountains for the people that I care for and that care about our clients and care about our team, and I will do whatever I can. And I've shown that in actions where I don't have to say anything; it's just done.
Right. I think the message would be, if you're an employer or employee, have that conversation. Go into work today and ask your superior for advice, and give them some advice back if they're open to it, right? Create that open dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, and just ask yourself, where can I be better? And recognize where you can be better, and go on the internet. Take a questionnaire, look up ways. No one's perfect. No one is perfect, right? So if you're going to go into work every day, where can you try to be better? Maybe 1% a day or 2%. And then after a couple of weeks of that change, you're going to start seeing a habit form. People sometimes think it takes 5 or 10 years to change. They don't realize it could take a couple of good weeks of consistency with something, and then there's a flow, and sometimes people are just really just short-term thinkers. They don't see the long play. It doesn't take years to change a mentality. It could take maybe a couple of days, a couple of weeks before you start seeing a whole shift. I think I'm big on that too.
Get out there. Get after it.
Cool, guys. Have a good one.